Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us, whether you are over Zoom or joining us through Belmont Media's channel or here in person at the library. We are very happy to have our friends from Belmont Light here to talk to us a little bit about how energy pricing will work this winter and to provide some advice on how to save on energy costs. So with that, please take it away, Aidan and Ben.
Thank you, Allison. As Allison said, we're from Belmont Light. My name is Aidan Leary. I'm the communications coordinator there. With me is my colleague, Ben DeVerge. He's our energy specialist. We're going to talk a bit about, something you may have heard about, maybe read about, which is electric rate increase, which is coming January 1st. And we're going to talk to you about programs and options that might be able to help you through the winter. Next slide. Okay, so just want to quickly go over the agenda. We're going to take a step back and look at what goes into electric rates. What are the charges that you see? Then we're going to look at why we are looking at a rate increase. We'll look at the actual approved rates for 2023. We'll look at our neighboring towns, the utilities that serve them and what is happening there. And then finally, we'll do some getting you ready for winter. So first question is, what goes into electric rates? The easiest way to look at that is to look at your bill. And all of the charges that go into your electric rate are spelled out in your on your bill under the account activity section. To simplify it, we've bucketed them in to three categories, which are generation and transmission charges, which are the energy charges, distribution and conservation charges, which are the delivery charges, and then our customer charge. So generation transmission, that is basically producing the energy and getting it to the edge of town. Distribution is taking that energy, electricity from the edge of town, delivering it to homes, businesses, and other buildings. And the conservation charge is what we use to fund all of our energy efficiency programs and rebate programs. And the customer charge, that covers things like metering, salaries, and other things like that. And when you really break down your bill, you see the energy portion, the generation and transmission portion is where right now your current bill goes to. It's over 50% goes to generation and transmission. Distribution is about a third of your bill, and the customer charge makes up just about under 10% of that bill. And what we're using as kind of a example is our average residential customer who uses about 500 kilowatt hours per month. So now we want to look at why there is a need to increase electric rates in January. There are three factors that really went into us looking at an increase. The first is, this is actually a cyclical thing. We do what's called a cost of service study, or maybe you refer to it as a rate study, every 3 to 5 years, which is the industry standard. We have also been seeing a lot of increases in distribution and other charges, other costs for us due to inflation and a lot of supply chain issues as well. And then obviously what everybody knows about is across the globe, everybody's seeing energy prices, especially natural gas prices, rise. And this slide just kind of demonstrates, things that everybody's heard about in the news. We won't cover too much, but the major one being the conflict in Ukraine with Russia. And what that has meant for us is increased prices. You see, going from 2020 to 2021, we saw an increase with the pandemic. 2021 to 2022, another one, and we are seeing our projections stay steady at a much higher rate than they had been before. So that is what we're facing. So I want to just go over the approved rates for 2023, and wanted to first talk about the process so far. So as I said, this was a cyclical thing. We had a cost of service study in 2018 that saw a need for an increase. Because of the pandemic, we didn't quite get all of that increase implemented. So having to revisit it for 2023. And with the increase, we see three main goals, which is first to cover our costs under the customer charge. Second is to prepare for what we think are going to be increased costs for infrastructure, especially, like I said, with supply chain issues and other things. And also, we're still seeing increased energy prices, so we want to be able to keep up with them. And we kind of look at these two things, these three goals, first two as Belmont Light costs, Belmont Light driven costs, and the third one is more of a market driven cost that it's really out of our control. So we wanted to break down the rate increases in a couple ways. So first, as I said, we wanted to look at the Belmont Light driven costs. So you see the customer charge and the distribution charge here. The increase of the customer charge from $10.60 to $12.60, and a fairly small increase in the distribution charge. And that leads to a 3.4% increase in the Belmont Light driven costs. Now we look at the market driven costs, where it goes from about 12.3 cents to about 14.5 cents. And that leads to a 9.8% increase in our costs and a charge to you. And when you bring that all together, you get a 13.2% increase. And again, this shows a 500 kilowatt hour per month bill. So your results may vary based on your usage. And we wanted to show the effects of our rate for low income customers. Across the board for customers, it's about a 12 to 13% increase for the average customer. For the low income customers, that's about a $8.80 increase. And we wanted to also point out that this isn't something that we are doing very often. We don't like to increase rates. We value ourselves as a public power utility, and one of the biggest benefits to that is that we have steadier rates and lower rates than our private sector utilities. So to talk about that is our energy specialist, Ben. He's going to go over some comparisons to our neighboring utilities.
There you go. Thank you, Aiden. So to start off, we're going to compare, looking at our rates for comparing our rates, which are the yellow line that you see, to the Boston area rates, which are the maroon line. Those have steadily gone up over the past, past 5 years, and significantly seeing a large increase in 2022. The slight increase that you see on the between 2021 and 2022 for Belmont Light is related to the PCA charge that was implemented at the beginning of this year. The average, because there's a lot lower costs in the general United States, that's why there is a slight lowering cost for the overall average of the United States. And the Northeast as a whole, it tends to be a lot higher than the rest of the United States. So looking at the investor-owned utilities, Eversource, National Grid, and Unitil, compared to Belmont Light, they have much higher rates as well as much higher increases coming. Eversource is currently at about a 40% increase is what they're estimated to be at. They just filed with the Department of Public Utilities, the DPU. Their rates are currently under review, and those should go into effect in January, the same time as ours do. National Grid is looking at a 64% increase for their rates. Those did go into effect already. The Unitil is looking at a slightly lesser increase, but they do have a higher rate as it is. And they're looking at about a 15.5% increase. You look at ours, which is at a 13.2, and our lower rates, we're still at a much lower cost for our customers. And again, this is comparing a 500 kilowatt hour bill from which is our average, to across the other utilities as well. And looking at our sister MLPs, both Mansfield and South Hadley have much larger increases coming for them in about this 50 to 60% increase range. Other utilities are anywhere from 9 to 15%, such as Reading, Peabody, and Holyoke, Westfield out in Western Mass, as well as Ipswich up on the North Shore. To help calculate the costs, what your increased bills are going to look like, Belmont Light developed a calculator that you're able to put in 1, 2, or 3 months of usage, and that will calculate the average of those 1, 2, or 3 months. And then that will show what your 2022 bill was and what your anticipated 2023 bill will be. And then also on that second row is it compares that rate to National Grid and Unitil, which we have confirmed rates on. As soon as we have the confirmed rates on Eversource, we will add that to the calculator. This is available on our website for all customers to look through, go through. Our customer service reps can look through it. I can take some time to look through it with you. If you have any questions about that, we're more than happy to go through that and explain where you can find where your usage on your current bill, to kind of take those maybe the 3 highest months to see what your most extreme bill could be, or taking those lowest months. So it gives yourself that range. You can do that. Then we're going to go in some tips about prepping for the winter months. It was a little apropos, being today we actually had some snow stick overnight and maintain some cold temperatures today. So we have multiple tools that are available for you. We have free home energy assessments that are available to you through Belmont Light. We have a vendor, Energy New England, that offers those. They can be both either virtual or in-home. They are still offering both. I do know that they are currently out a couple months, but if you would like a sooner appointment, they may be able to add you to a cancellation list to kind of get you in sooner than that. We also have a weatherization incentive program. This would be in addition, if you are eligible for Mass Save rebates, this would be in addition to Mass Save rebates. It also is eligible. All customers who are in Belmont Light customers are eligible for this. And then we also have any programs associated with LIHEAP, such as HeartRep and the Weatherization Assistance Program, or WAP. And we participate in the Good Neighbor Energy Fund as well. We do have these links that will be available through our website, as well as through the presentation when this is presented online. Our weatherization incentive program allows you to access rebates for doing attic installation, wall installation, anything that was recommended from a home energy assessment. That includes also air sealing and duct sealing. The amount is $1,000, up 75% up to $1,000 for installation work, and 75% up to $500 for air sealing. Does have to be done by a licensed contractor. This does not apply to any self-installed weatherization. Just some general energy tips is to try and use the sun, open up the shades, let the sun warm those the southern aspect, the exposure, kind of use that as that natural heater. Another way is to wrap any drafty windows with the plastic wrap. Personally, I know that we did that to a off-kilter door that saved us a lot of draft in a previous apartment. Probably saved us a lot of money on our heating bills too. And one we state, and it's always out there, is setting your thermostat as low as possible, but we stress to make sure that it's comfortable as possible. Do not set it lower than anything that you feel comfortable with, or that will potentially cause issues with your home, because it is going to cost you probably more to replace anything that has been damaged by frozen water pipes that have burst than it is to spend those few extra dollars just to make sure that you are safe, your home is comfortable for you and for everything inside of it. Checking your heating system. A lot of times the heating systems are now on by this point in time, so we do recommend the maintenance be done in the fall, but it doesn't hurt to call your HVAC technician to see if they can come out and just do a maintenance, check the air filters, make sure that's all set for you for the winter. And as we're getting into the decorating season, maybe looking at options as including LED light bulbs, whether that's in fixtures or for the holiday lights themselves. That's it. And one more thing that's going to be coming into effect is the Inflation Reduction Act, also known as the IRA. It has a lot of incentives available starting January 1st. So for installations, purchases that are done January 1st and onward, including heat pumps, electric vehicles, actually insulation that we were just discussing as well. Those are all available for incentives for people to achieve those systems. We do have resources available through our website directing you to find out about that. We will also be implementing some resources to describe what is available for customers as well. There are 2 incentives that are currently available for now, but everything else does go into effect January 1st. And I guess we'll address if there are any questions.
So it looks like we have a few questions in the chat, so we'll start with them first. Let's see. Oh, so there weren't any questions in the chat. Do we have any questions here at all?
Feel free for those of you who are online to add your questions to the chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask a question, we can do that too.
Maybe we just did such a good job that there are no questions.
Oh, we do have one in the chat. Is Section 8 housing under the lower rates?
So for lower rates, low income rate, that is something that you must apply for through community teamwork. When you apply for that, it does open up a lot of the other incentive programs through the LIHEAP, the low income home energy assistance program. So that we had a link to that earlier. It is on our website as well under, I believe it's under customer service, and then financial aid programs, for financial assistance programs. And you can also call our customer service team at 617-993-2800, and they'll all be able to help you.
Were there any other questions? There's one. Yep, Anna, if you want to unmute yourself, and then we'll go to the next one in the chat.
Yeah, I heard from online somewhere that the solar energy is not being rebated in Massachusetts right now. Are they going to restart rebating solar panels and stuff in January in Mass?
So that's, hold on, let me figure out how to answer that question because it's a little complicated. Is the federal tax credit under the IRA did increase from 26% to 30%. So that would be back on any systems installed as of right now. That one is currently active. Massachusetts still has the tax credit, and I believe the SMART is still in effect, but I think they were negotiating that, but that is for investor-owned utilities. Belmont Light program that we had with the state, it was a partial state funded program with Belmont Light funding that we ended in 2021, and we've evaluated what we can do and what we can offer. And currently we don't have any plans to offer it in 2023. We might offer something further than that, but we're also looking at other options as well. Because Belmont Light, we would have to fund everything ourselves. So we kind of have to balance what programs we have available. We are looking and evaluating, but the short answer is no. Belmont, for the town of Belmont, we don't have anything available for 2023.
Just going to grab the question from the chat here. Frank says, he says, I have a suggestion. Many appliances continue to use electricity when turned off and need to be turned off to stop drawing power. Unplugging these items saves sometimes 85% of the power used when on. And then M asked, does unplugging appliances help lower costs?
Yes, actually, and then Frank's comment below, I'm going to read it out. It says some people report a savings of 22%, which is close to what it is. There are a few devices out there. There's the simple device, kilowatt, which you plug anything that has just either a 2-prong or a 3-prong plug into it. It does not service large appliances that require a 240 volt. It only requires everything that requires a smaller. That you're able to plug in, put it in for an hour, or plug it in for an hour or overnight, or as long as you use it, to see what the amount of energy that device uses. That could be a laptop, that could be your entire entertainment center. And then you can multiply it out by the rate to see what those you're using. There are smart strips, power strips that you can use to turn off those phantom loads, or vampire loads is the other one, the other term that people use. Vampire, I think, is a little more apropos. And that there's also smarter strips than that, which are connected to the Wi-Fi, and you can actually look and see what those are actually. It will tell you what devices are on, which ones you can shut off, how much power they're using at any time. Depends on how connected you would like your home to be. So there are multiple levels of looking at options. I actually believe there's a kilowatt kit available through the library.
I will double check on that while Judith, if you want to ask your question.
Yes, so I'm Judith finally. This is a very uneducated question, but okay, Belmont Light's electric rate is way lower than National Grid, and that's fine. But is that 64% increase affecting the gas National Grid gives me?
Yeah.
Seriously uneducated.
No, you're correct that the National Grid gas prices will go up.
No matter what it's connected to.
Correct. But I can't say what that increase is. We only looked at the electric rates because because I'll admit I don't live in Belmont. I have National Grid gas. I haven't looked, even as somebody who does energy things all day long, I haven't looked at what my rates are going to be yet.
Okay.
So I do know it's going up, but I don't know what the percent is.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'll just add that gas prices, like National Grid's, that is a major factor in electric rates. So it all is pretty interconnected, because over 50% of the generation of electricity in New England is natural gas. So you look around the country, and there's a ton of different sources of electricity, including coal, oil, things like that. Up here, it's mostly natural gas, though, which we're seeing a huge increase in the prices, which are leading to our costs going up.
Well, if Mr. Measure finds out what this is, I'd be delighted if he got in touch with me and let me know.
All right, we have another question in the chat asking if due to breathing problems, how does keeping a window slightly open or turning on an AC in winter affect costs, especially if you're not using the heat?
That's a good question. My honest is actually, it would probably increase your cost because your house has to be at a minimum temperature. State mandated. That's how it passed. The house has to be at, I believe, 62. I think that is a health code thing, just to make sure that everyone is kept warm, and make sure the house is quote unquote healthy. So you're not getting any pipes freeze or anything. It would increase your cost because your heating system is going to have to increase that. What you could get is, if you're trying to get clean, trying to clean the air, is getting an Energy Star efficient air purifier, which I can say is that we are going to we don't have it currently on the list, but it will be added to the list for appliances that are eligible for rebates as of next year. So starting in January, you'll be able to apply for that. I don't know exactly what the amount's going to be off the top of my head. And I can say that's bad me because I run the program and I don't know it. So I'm sorry about that. You can follow up with me and I can get in touch with you after. But in terms of that, would be a more cautious approach, and it would increase your bills a little bit, but you wouldn't be paying gas or oil prices to reheat your home. You would only be paying electric, and as electric rates, which Belmont Light's kind of a little more, those rates are a little more stable than potentially an increase or a drastic change to gas or oil prices.
Okay. Anna, I saw you had your hand raised a moment ago. Was your question answered? Are you all set?
No, I just wanted to say, I try to unplug everything where the charger gets warm and if I'm not using the appliance, because it's using energy if the charger is getting warmed. And I was always taught that if you had simple electronics like the old fashioned, we call it toasters that didn't have like a light on or anything when it was plugged in, and it only turned on when you plug it on. So I figured that's not drawing energy if it doesn't have any electrical light on or something when it's plugged.
No, you're exactly right. Because those are physically mechanical. There's nothing actually like you said, electronic or electric that's actually on. Toaster, oven, a convection, a toaster itself. Those are things that are mechanical. They're either on or off. Even things like your oven itself, it is like an oven will draw a little power if there's a screen that shows the clock, but the oven itself is not drawing any power because it's a mechanical device and that it's only on or off. You're exactly right, Anna.
I'm not quite sure about this question in the chat. We might need to have you retype it potentially, but what it says is, so would lower rates increase if use of occasional fresh air in winter? Not quite clear on the question there. If you wouldn't mind maybe retyping. Like lower housing rates. So are you asking if the lower energy costs for the low income housing program would change if you were opening windows? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I think I understand the question. Is the question's asking, would the energy costs go? I think the basic question is, would the energy costs go up for if you're opening windows to get fresh air in the winter? And the quick answer is yes, because like Belmont Light's bills, along with a lot of electric bills, are based on just the amount of energy of electricity used. The actual cost, the multipliers for the distribution charges and the generation and transmission charges, those won't change month to month. Like as was stated, we do this on a 3 to 5 year cycle. So those charges won't go up. What will go up is if you're using more electricity to either move air around or to potentially reheat an area, that would show up on your bill. And there are ways so you can kind of see. We have the tool Smart Hub that we offer to all of our customers. That's an online tool that's available to see monthly, daily, and hourly usage. So you can kind of see if there's potentially something that, if you're leaving a window open, are you seeing what you might see is that if you have like a gas heating system that's a central air system moving the air from the boiler up throughout the house, you might see an increased usage there because of the electricity used to generate the blower. So that's where you might see that, and you might be able to see that under Smart Hub because you left it open between 2 and 4, and then you'll see that increase around between 4 and 5, 4 to 6, because your boiler was trying to kick back up and get the house back up to heat it where the right temperature was.
Okay, great. Does anybody have, okay, we've got another question. Jennifer says, we're on Belmont Light's TOU pilot program. Are the increases in 2023 any different for us?
So it will be, I believe, discussed at a future light board meeting. I think currently the plan is to not make any changes to the time use pilot program, as it is a pilot program. And I believe those folks on the pilot program will be able to stay on for the time being. And as we kind of get results from the pilot program, which ends technically December 31st, we'll be reviewing those with the light board at light board meetings throughout early 2023. And then the plan is to have some kind of decision made by mid 2023 as to the continuation of time of use. But for now, there will be no changes at all to the time of use program.
We got another question. How specifically are apartments affected?
Apartments tend to have a slightly the 500 kilowatt hour average that we use for Belmont Light customers includes all of our apartments, our condos, our single family homes, all the way up across all of our residences. So we tend to see apartments have smaller bills than 500 kilowatt hours. So they'll still see the average is around 13% of an increase. But the average bill for an apartment building, those residences tend to see a bill anywhere from, I've seen small as 200 up to 300 to 400, depending on how much is being utilized. I know my townhouse style apartment, we use around 300 a month. We're a little higher in the summer because we have a central AC unit that's a little older and should probably get updated, but that's out of my control. But overall, like in the past couple months, what we've seen is around 300 or so kilowatt hours.
So really you'd have to, use your own Belmont Light bills to look at how much you typically use on a monthly basis. Could, like Ben said, could change in the summer, could change by season. So you can either look back at your bills, or if you have access, if you can log into Smart Hub, that would give you, looking back over a certain amount of time, your usage by month. So you could use that. You could also use our calculators to look at what your bill would have been or will be if you keep up that same usage rate.
Like I said, the best way is to actually look at the past year of your bills and take your highest 3 months and let that be, and that's going to be an average high bill, and then take your lowest 3 months over the past year, and that would be an average low bill. That's kind of the way we develop the tool, using the 3 month. Again, you can put in just 1 month just to see that. You can put it in 2 months or 3 months. That's why there's it'll just auto calculate. So the calculator is set up to be individual as to what your preference is for seeing data.
And we also have a question. Can you please explain again what you said about power strips? I think in regard to helping with the vampire electricity.
Yes, I can. So there are things called smart, what's a smart strip? It's a power strip surge protector. It does both. But what there are, it divides up the outlets. So there are outlets that are control outlets that control, or that if that device that is plugged in has subsequent devices on it, then that in certain outlets, and they're very clearly labeled that this is the controlled outlet or the control outlet, and these are the ones that are controlled. So a lot of people will put in, if it's on their entertainment center, it'll be their TV is the controller, and their controlled is their VCR, their PlayStation, their Xbox, whatever. But there are outlets also on there that are always on. Those always on would have to be like your router and your modem to power to have the Wi-Fi set up for other devices. But when your TV's off, those controlled devices, they're off. You can also set it up that it's on a manual switch. You can just go in. If you don't have a smart strip, you can also go in and it's an old school strip, just switch the power off. That's how our Christmas tree is currently set up. It's on a manual switch. We just go flip the switch. So that's how we shut our tree off. It's a little bit of getting an arm under a chair, but it works.
Let's see. So the follow-up to that was, can the strips run on Wi-Fi?
Some can, yes. Not all of them. Like if you, some you'll see like available through Mass Save's website. Those are pseudo smart strips in the sense that they're like the first I described, is that they have the outlets, the labeled outlets that are that have the controlled. But there are outlets out there, believe company Wemo/Belkin. They have smart outlets and smart strips that are controlled through Wi-Fi. They also they have an outlet little pricier, but like I said, that's ones that you can plug a device in. It's Wi-Fi enabled and Wi-Fi controlled. Plus it also tells you like energy usage for that device. There's also that same company has ones that are basically rocker switches. So you can plug a device in there that's plugs into the outlet, into the wall, and there's a rocker switch on the side. So then you can shut that device off directly from the outlet. So there's everything from a mechanical, all the way through an IoT, Internet of Things. You can Wi-Fi connect it and everything. So there's a plethora of options out there to try and be more energy efficient.
Great. Any other questions? Either folks who want to raise a hand or put something in the chat? Okay.
Thank you.
Looks
This was
like-
very helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining. And thank you for the questions. Thank you to Aiden and Ben for leading us through all the technical details there and the suggestions to help conserve energy. I think, yeah, it looks like we got through all the questions. So hope everybody has a good rest of your evening. Do look out for on the library's websites where the library's website, we are looking to plan some upcoming programs with Belmont Light again for home electrification and some other topics. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, look out for those in the coming months. And everybody have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.